Hello and welcome to the Analytics Show, the podcast of business through the lens of data science. But together, we'll dive into learning and sharing where various industries are heading and how data and analytics is at the heart of shaping business growth and productivity. Let's spark different ways of thinking about data and analytics that is relevant to you and prepare your business for future disruption. I'm your host, Jason Tan. I'm delighted you could make it on this journey with us. Hey guys, to continue to get support tips, techniques, and tools and learn from the expert, hit that subscribe button wherever you are so we can keep in touch and continue our lifelong learning together. So, are you using your company data to its full potential? Take our embedded analytic assessment to find out your score. A leading organization like Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google have moved beyond dashboard and embedded data science directly into their daily business operation. With our 3-minute test, you will discover your potential in optimizing customer experience and revenue through embedded analytics. You will gain greater clarity, insight, and advice to embed analytics. Plus, you will receive customized results instantly. Find the link to this assessment in the description of this episode. Hello, Kari. Welcome to the Analytics Show podcast. So excited to have you here and finally chatting with you all the way from New Zealand. How are you today?
Thank you, Jason. Hello, and how are you? It's an absolute pleasure to be with you today. It does seem a long time since we first chatted about doing this show, so it's awesome to be with you today.
Well, the pleasure is mine. Now, I got some question for you to get this whole thing started. So I'm gonna get started really live. I saw that you have been very active in volunteering for various sport organizations, including AFL New Zealand, Sports New Zealand. My question for you is, where does this passion for sports come from?
Look, Jason, I think I've been lucky. I've been playing sports since a very, very early age. So grew up playing sports with my parents. It was a big part of getting out there, meeting new people, good part of sort of growing up. So yeah, got involved with lots of different sports. And so, you know, I think for me, I played international level lacrosse and coached international level as well, coached a few different international teams. But I suppose my passion for sports it comes in sort of different forms. Yes, I'm fascinated and I love learning to do new things, really challenging myself physically, really just wondering how far I can possibly take something. But also I think the thing that's most interesting for me about sports is not so much about the playing, but actually about the coaching. My passion, if I had to choose, do you want to play sport or do you want to coach sport? My choice would always be coaching. Since as long as I can remember, I started coaching lacrosse when I was 15 or 16 years old at school. And I think I've always just been fascinated around how to create high performing teams and how to lead teams at different levels. Whether it's a grassroots, under 16s team, or whether or not it's an international senior women's team. So, or whether that's an analytics team. I'm just always been really fascinated about what it takes to bring different groups of people together to make them perform or help them perform at the highest possible level that they can be. So that's where my passion for sport has come from, and I've loved, growing up learning and reading about sports coaches. Ralph Pym is one of these incredible guys that sort of talks about different types of skills, performance skills, moral skills. And he introduced me to a lovely phrase which stuck with me for a long time around, sport doesn't build character, it actually reveals it. And I think that's something that I think has really sort of leading teams, growing teams, building teams is something that's really been a real passion for mine from since the age of sort of 15.
Wow, we certainly have to talk a little bit more about that. And when you were describing all of those things, it reminded me of a book that I read, which is called $1 Trillion Coach, talking about Bill Campbell. He is a sport coach in his early days of his career, but he is the coach for the people like Steve Jobs, from Apple, Eric Smith. Sorry, I have problem with pronouncing the last name of Eric Smith from the Google. But he is the guy that a lot of these multi-billion-dollar tech CEO that went to. Looks like you're on the right path, Kari.
I've always been fascinated around the things that you can take from the sports field, into the boardroom, and what can apply and what doesn't apply, because not everything is automatically transferable. You're not always leading the All Blacks, for example. They're not comparable when you sort of lead an analytics team, but there are lots of things that are similar in what motivates, or understanding, the importance of diversity, the importance of psychological safety, the importance of motivation and recognition, and how to bring different types of people together to really create a star team.
I think that cross-discipline learning is so important. Now, that is one question that I have for you is Lacrosse. When I was researching about these interviews, I actually had to Google what exactly is Lacrosse. I'm sorry. But for the benefit of listeners, do you mind to quickly share what Lacrosse is as a sport?
That's absolutely fine, Jason. It's been a long time since I've retired from both playing and coaching, it's so the sport is a North American First Nation people sport. It's one of its many names, or I think is Begataway. It was played as I think it's a rite of passage sport to help young men prepare for battle. This was the historical context of the sport. And my understanding from the history, or what's been shared with me, is I think it was a French missionary saw the sport being played on some of the plains in North America, on the Canadian North American border, and coined the sport, or gave the name its sport, or its Western name, lacrosse. And eventually that sport somehow ends up in a private girls' boarding school in Scotland, and suddenly the sport starts to grow in the UK through the and I ended up learning the sport at my boarding school down in Kent as I was growing up. So it's an unusual and I suppose a different history to a sport, but that's I think my knowledge of where the sport came from.
I'll make sure to put a link to the sport of this one to let people learn more about it. Now,
yeah, hopefully I've got my facts right. Hopefully I've got my facts right.
Now, of all of these volunteering experience in all of these sport organizations, anything in particular stuck with you to this day?
Yeah, I think when I retired from coaching, I think what was, and I just focused totally on my professional career in analytics. I think what was quickly kind of apparent for me is that I really enjoyed being able to share knowledge or share experience or be able to give back. Giving back has been a part of my, I suppose, upbringing. It's sort of really inbuilt in my DNA. And so when I stopped coaching and stopped contributing to community through coaching or playing, I've wanted to find a different way to share that knowledge. And so I started to get involved with not-for-profit boards and sharing initially my sporting experience and my sporting knowledge, and that's how I got involved with AFL New Zealand. But as you get involved with the board on different types of boards, what you start to realize is actually you start to contribute around that board table using some of your other professional skills as well. So, and that's when I get to share some of my knowledge around analytics, and that's really now where I want to start to or want to continue how I support New Zealand organisations on advisory boards or not-for-profit boards, supporting them through my knowledge with analytics and emerging technologies, and helping organisations make the right decisions that are getting tougher and tougher around how to use data and what's ethical usage of data, and helping them, I suppose, explore how they can do that for to help those organizations grow and improve in terms of their performances.
Well, it has been great to get to know you at some of your personal life and experience, but I want to move into the professional work and share a little bit more about a lot of the things that I'll be asking you today. Shall we start with tell us a little bit more about your current role as the General Manager of Analytics and Insight at Countdown Supermarkets?
Yeah, okay, sure. So Countdown is a grocery retailer in New Zealand. It's one of the two major operators in New Zealand. Countdown's actually part of the wider Woolworths group, which is Australian owned. So it's a part of a very, very large organization. I think Woolworths Group is constantly expanding. I think it's probably over and above 200,000 people across Australia and New Zealand. But just in New Zealand, we're 21,000 people. 18,000 or not, 18 to 19,000 of those people are at our front line, in our stores or in our supply chain, or working in our DCs, and we've got about 2,000 people supporting the operation, from in our support office in Mungari, in Favona, and also in our digital office in Ponsonby. So we've got, in terms of what does that look like and who how we're made up. So we've got about 190 stores across both the North Island and the South Island. So we've also got a franchise business as well. So we've got 190 Countdown stores, and then we've got a franchise business that covers two other banners called Super Value and Fresh Choice. And so they are sort of smaller size stores. And we've got about 72 of those. We've also got a wholesale business in New Zealand. And we've also got a Vine Online, so a wine and sort of an alcohol, standalone alcohol banner. And we've also got a digital media banner as well called Cartology. which provides opportunities for suppliers to access and reach customers through in-store media, digital in-store media, and also through some of our online banners as well. So it's definitely, we're definitely a lot more than just 190 countdown stores. We've got distribution centers. We own the last mile in terms of that delivery network, as well as really, I suppose, owning that end-to-end supply chain from farm to fork, as we like to say.
It is a massive business, and one thing that I always love about finding out all these things is sometimes they are so much bigger, wider, and deeper than we really thought it is. As a general manager of the analytics and insight, must be a massive role. Tell us a little bit more about your role in where it fits in the business.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think a lot of people in a similar position or similar role to me will report into lots of different types of chiefs. And so some people will report into a chief financial officer or a chief digital officer. But I'm actually reporting into effectively our chief strategy and transformation officer. So in our Woolworths, in our Countdown business, that's the director of strategy and transformation. And so I sit inside, or analytics and insights sits within the strategy and transformation part of our business. For me, that's a fantastic opportunity. Okay, and the reason why I advocate and I'm a real champion of that is because we sit next to a couple of really important functions in our organizations. The strategy part of our function, and if you want to deliver good work, and if you want to make sure you're doing valuable work as an analytics team, you want to be doing things that are strategically aligned to the organization. And so sitting in the same room as my strategy colleagues really enables us to do that. They have us front of mind when they're thinking about strategy. And then the other part of the business that we sit very, very close to within the strategy and transformation team is our agile transformation partners. And so it's really important that data and analytics is really closely dovetailed into fundamentally changing how we operate as an organization, and being very close to our agile partners again enable us to do that really well. So in terms of the size of the team, we've got about 70 people across the analytics and insights team. We've got what I like to call a full stack analytics capability. We own the full data supply chain in many instances. So we've got a fantastic master data team, which looks after and enriches a lot of our product information that our suppliers give to us. And that product information is so important because it's what enables the information to appear on the website, or information to appear on tickets in store. If we get that information wrong, we can have a compliance issue. But we've also got we'll also have if we have lack of information as well, that's a real problem for our customers as they're trying to search and try to find information about product. So we've got our master data team. We've got our data excellence team that looks after data quality, data governance, and all of these really important topics. That's a good sized team with good, strong executive support. We've also got a strategic insights chapter. Okay, so they work. They are all about turning the data into action and recommendations, being able to sit side by side with senior leaders to help interpret that information. We've got experts in data visualization. We've got experts in data science and advanced analytics. And we've got a really strong data engineering practice that are both very expert in sort of that data pipelining work, but also some of that more emerging area, or at least emerging for us in that ML ops space. And so they're sort of our, I suppose, our two sort of disciplines within our data engineering area. So hopefully I haven't missed anyone out. Yeah.
I don't think you have. No, I think you highlighted two important keywords that I really want to cover in this podcast interview, and those two keywords being strategic and transformation. Now I'm going to go with the transformation first, and then we'll come back to strategy. So in terms of the transformation, I suppose anyone who has worked in the grocery store, retailer, supermarket, like Countdown, Woolies, like you suggest, like you say, you're no stranger using the data for the operational analytics to gain insight at all. And you are already doing all of those things for years. As early as we know about data, more than decades ago, right? And you touch on the ML ops a little bit. So my question then is, apart from all of those operational analytics, would you share a little bit more about what is the next frontier in using all of these emerging technology, ML, in to serve and improve the performance in your industry?
I think one of the fantastic things about working not just at Countdown, but in the wider Woolworths group, is that right from the very top of our organization, there is a strong and highly articulate belief that our biggest problems are going to be solved with AI, ML, and other types of analytics. Now, I just think that is such a huge statement for our executive, right from the very top, and it really sets a tone that flows through the whole organization. It's that we look for opportunities for how AI and ML and advanced analytics can help us solve some of those problems. And they're not sort of considered crazy. They're considered reasonable opportunities to improve supply chain, improve customer experience. I think I think one of the big areas where we really want to be leading out on in the usage of AI is in our sustainability. In our area, we've got an important strategies around good and green for Aotearoa, for good and green for New Zealand, and so we're looking at ways and partnering with organizations like Google to look at how do we use analytics of different types of analytics and to reduce food waste, to help us with sustainable sourcing, with the decarbonization of our operation. How do we use analytics and advanced analytics with some of our with energy management, refrigeration, and things like this. So I think, yes, you can do some amazing things with AR, and customer experience, and and what's on the smartphone, and wayfinding, and all of those amazing things. But I think for us, good and green for New Zealand, good and green sustainable practices is so important for New Zealanders, that's where I think is a real opportunity for us to use different types of analytics to not just make a difference for our customers today, but make a difference for the next generation of customers tomorrow.
Absolutely, I love that. I think that whole idea about how to use technology for good within the organization is so appealing. What exactly is that outcome, right? I want to continue to set the scene about this conversation, how to use analytics to do various things. So my next question is also related to the other keyword that I was referring to, which is strategic. And what I refer by that is, I think you guys are going, from what I observe as an outsider, I feel like you guys are taking a lot of strategy move, especially in this very competitive industry where there are so many startups these days that moving into the grocery industry, like the grocery delivery, the ride sharing, Uber is eating the lunch a little bit. Ultra fast delivery is something that I'm still trying to get my head around, to have everything delivered in 15 minutes. And all of them, they are really coming to the market to challenge the status quo. And it's not just in Australia, but it's happening around the world. So my question then is, how do you and the organization view and plan to fend off this sort of competition?
Yeah. Look, I'm not sure if I'm absolutely completely well positioned to answer that question, but what I can say is that the way that I experience the organization and the way that as a leader I try to work with my team is to bring that innovation mindset. We see the progress in the ultra fast convenience. We see we've got different types of lockers that people can pick up, and they can get their groceries in the ways that make sense for them. If it's pick up in store, if it's pick up lockers, if it's same day delivery, we've even got sort of express pickup options, and there'll be more and more sort of ultra convenience options that are constantly being brought to the table. I think there's one called direct boot, so you just drive through and someone pop your shopping into the boot. So the number of options is ever growing. I think and so we are constantly innovating and trying things out. I think the key is trying to work out where are some of those value propositions to customers best placed, because what might be applicable, to a highly urban environment in Auckland might not necessarily be valued by a customer base in parts of the South Island. They're very different communities with a very different need. And so it's not a one size fits all. It's understanding the customer, it's understanding what they value, it's bringing that test and learn mindset. It's about saying, yes, we can, let's try it, and doing some of the analysis around where do we think this proposition would be best received by customers, and trying some different things out. The other thing that I can see from our Woolworths group in New Zealand is the desire to grow our ecosystem. And you can see the Woolworths group, we have our Big W colleagues, pet culture has just joined the Woolworths family. And I think that's only a good thing for customers as they start to be able to get, there's an aspect of the data that sits behind that, and customers being able to get, improved customer experiences, more personalized offers across the whole ecosystem. I think that's the possibility, right?
Yeah. Hey all, I just want to give a quick shout out about this episode. It's sponsored by the Embedded Analytic Program at DDA. And the Embedded Analytic Program is designed for senior manager and executive in the business team who want to integrate data science into daily business operation. and use it to drive customer experience excellence and revenue. And book unlimited strategy session for a full year and start embedding analytics into the business frontline. For more information about this program, please refer to the description of this episode. Now, let's get on back to the interview. Thanks for sharing all of this context. Now, my question then for you is, how would this innovation and how would this business strategy translate into your team from the perspective of data, analytics, AI, emerging technology in terms of the role that they play?
Yeah, look, I think there is no there is no end to the enthusiasm of our organization to use data. Okay, there is no end. The appetite is insatiable. Okay, and it's so there is very little selling that I need to do internally around getting people excited about how they can use data in different ways. As I said, that tone has been very much set from the top. And so I think the challenge for us is being able to provide analytics to support different types of decision making at different cadences, as rapidly as possible, to the quality that is required. And I think that's a very, very typical challenge that analytics teams have. So we might be doing some hypothesis testing for a new product, or we might be trying, there might be some digital optimization work that the team might be doing with our website, working out whether or not we need to we need to change this hero graphic, or change the global navigation, or where to put a particular logo, and will that impact negatively on customer experience. So there is no end to the desire to use analytics to improve customer experience, to improve operational effectiveness, to improve productivity. It's literally sometimes it's about choosing the right piece of work. It's about choosing the right the most impactful piece of work, and I think that's often the challenge that me and some of my leadership team are presented with most days. So it could be anything.
Now it's great that is not a difficult sell to the business to adopt more insight and to adopt more data. But do you think is it enough in there, or do you think we can push them a little bit further to think outside the box, to say how can they innovate, and how can they innovate using data that is beyond than just the insight, beyond than just the basic data, and come out something new, whether it is reinventing the revenue model, whether it's reinventing the product structure, or the business model, that they can actually achieve more if they were thinking about all of this data they have got, and all of this the emerging technology that it is so widely available now. How do you encourage them to take further? Like, and an example of that I would use, I think it's so easy for us to say, well, Amazon create these, people who buy A will also likely to buy B. It's no brainer, right? I think it's easy for us to say that, but for the first pioneer to come out, I think that was not easy. My question then is, how do you encourage them to go further, become this sort of thing that is really utilizing the data and the analytics to go further, Mouse?
Yeah, look, I think I recently used a phrase. I'll tell you the story a little bit, and I'll come back to it. But I recently used the phrase, was it data superpowers or supercharges fuels an organization, but relationships grease it. Okay, it greases relationships, actually grease the wheels of the organization. And I think um, when you're an analytics leader, one of the big jobs that you have is to create those trusted relationships inside the business. You have to deliver the everyday analytical value in order to then be able to get your business stakeholders to trust you sufficiently to go another step further, to say, right, I don't want, and an example of that is a little bit of innovation that the team has been experimenting with. And it is very much an experiment. We a few of the younger members or the of our team decided to go out on to be part of the AI forums in Via Hackathon event a few weeks ago. And so they got the opportunity to do a 2-day hackathon, and they created a prototype around a rat detection or a pest detection system. Okay.
Wow.
And that was for a specific problem that the Waiheke Island has over here. They want to be pest free, and so anyway, that aside, they put together a fantastic presentation pack for that, which I shared with our MD, and then I shared with a couple of other people in the business, and I said, is this in any way of interest to you? And a couple of people who, I had got those relationships, those trusted relationships with, actually said, yes, we could apply a similar kind of idea, but apply it in a different way. And so you've got to have a couple of things. You've got to have people that are willing to think a little bit differently, that have got those open minds, that are willing to be a little bit courageous and give something a go. And I think you've also got to have, people that are willing, that don't mind if we're going to fail, but we're going to time box that period under which we're going to experiment. And so I think that's, I suppose, a way that I'm helping our teams innovate and experiment and into using different types of technology, but also it's those relationships, those everyday relationships, your internal communications plan, if you like, that gives you the opportunity to even present a different type of idea. We're trying this out with a few different. You've got to earn the right. You have to earn the right to get up the value chain. And I think, and it takes a little while to do that. And you need to get some wins under your belt, and you need to share those wins in order to earn the right to take the next step, to do the slightly more innovative activity.
There's so many things to unpack in there. But the first thing first, I want to talk about if there is a way to describe your leadership style. What would you say that describe your leadership within your team? Who has that sort of an endorsement to say, let's try to put data and analytics across the organization? What is your leadership style to encourage the innovation of the data?
Yeah. There's a few different things in there. Let's talk about that relationships part and what gives you the right. What gives you the right to put an innovative solution on the table to someone. It's the relationships. How do you build a relationship? And this goes back to some of the things that I learned when I was at PwC consulting. You've got to understand what keeps your client, what keeps your stakeholder up at night. You've got to be able to walk, a mile or a kilometer in their shoes. You've got to understand what their goals are, what they're trying to achieve, what's getting in their way. And then my job, or some of my leaders' jobs, is to work out, how does analytics help you solve some of those problems? Okay, and that's, it's taking the time to understand their world and talk the language of the business. That's absolutely critical. And so, what is my leadership style? I think I am a relationship builder. I love learning about what keeps people up at night. I like understanding, what are the results, what are the goals people are wanting to achieve. My style is energetic. I bring a lot of passion for solving problems. I'm proud to say that I am positively dissatisfied with the status quo. I think people would describe me as a little bit of an organizational rebel, an agitator, someone that's demanding it can be better. We can do more. We can do better. Okay. And so I suppose that drives me a lot. And I hope, often the feedback, when I get it right, the feedback is that energy is infectious. Okay, when I get it, and I suppose what drives me, why do I want to do that? I want people to do meaningful work. I want the team to work on things that are making a difference to others. And so by me building the relationships, understanding what keeps our stakeholders up at night, I can make sure that the problems that the team are solving are the ones that are meaningful and will make a difference. And I think that brings a lot of satisfaction to me.
As you are coaching and mentoring your team and training them up to the next generation of the leader, how do you pass on all of this knowledge that you just share with me to them, especially all of these technical people, where a lot of these things don't come naturally to them?
Yeah. Different ways. I think you have to ask some of my leadership team how that's working out for them. I think I've got a bunch of mantras that we sort of go to. This is what we believe in. These are the values of our team. This is what we stand for. And I think those mantras help that, me being consistent about what we're trying to achieve. So a couple of those, some of those will be things like stop starting and start finishing. Do what you say you're going to do. It's your professional responsibility to have an opinion. Things like this, okay? So we have these mantras. We've got some externally facing goals, and we have some internally facing goals. Things around how we're going to drive value to the organization. We talk about value a lot. We talk about, what's the outcome? Outcomes over outputs. And I suppose I keep coming back to the playbook almost, the things that are we just keep on reiterating, are we solving the right problem? Are we asking the clarifying questions? Are we setting clear expectations for stakeholders, for team? And we question ourselves whether or not we're working on the right things. That's, I suppose, the things that I sort of reiterate over and over and over again. And so that's probably a bit like a broken record sometimes. But I want the team to understand that we're not chopping and changing all the time. This is the direction. And at the same time, there are obviously some very solid, hard skills that team need to learn around communication, around influence, around setting up action-oriented data visualizations that drive action, and we commit to extensive professional development in that area, because we want our team members to stay and grow their careers over the long term with Countdown. And we want people to have a passion for grocery retail. We want them to have a passion for our business, and we want to have a passion for the things that keep our stakeholders up at night. And so we also train and teach people about the strategic direction of the organization, and we spend a lot of time talking about the industry and getting people to deeply understand the ins and outs of the grocery industry. And so, so there's some formal training, and there's some informal, on the job coaching, which, we all, as a leadership team, I've got about 12 people in my leadership team. We all take, different types of responsibility for.
Great stuff. And what do you think is one key lesson that you want to share when passing on the baton to your successor?
Yeah. Goodness, there's so many, right? And obviously every person, the idea is that they should hopefully build on what the next person, what the previous person has done, rather than sort of telling them, what to do. But I suppose one of the lessons that I've learned over my career is that, and I'm going to steal a phrase from someone else, and I'm going to steal a phrase from a fantastic guy called Scott Frierson, who's based out in the States. And if there's one thing that I could share with the next person, it's this phrase, which is do good work, show the good work. Okay, because as an analytics leader, your tenure in the organization will not be very long if you don't show the business impact and the value that you are delivering on a regular basis. And so we do that explicitly, we do that in different ways, and we do it consistently. And so that would be the one thing I think we've got to be better as analytics leaders, of showing the impact and the work that the team is doing and the difference the team is making. It's good for them, but it's fantastic for the business as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. One last question before we go to the final two. Anything else that we'd like to share about you? Well, can I please give you a plug, or the company a plug?
Oh, look, yes, okay. Yes, I think if you are a highly motivated analytics professional, or a data professional, and you want to come and work in a fast-paced, exciting environment, then connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know, because we'd love to hear from you. We love bar raisers. We want people to come in, join our team culture, put the we before me, and help us raise the bar.
I love it. I'll make sure to share the LinkedIn profile and also the company website into the article, and also the shout out. So here are my final two questions. The first one being, what is your most important first principle?
Oh, goodness. I think I might have mentioned it already. I think it's, you've got to put the team first. And it's a little bit, I think I was thinking about this, and I expect some of the audience, or maybe you, Jason, would expect me to say something like, show me the data. And that being my first principle of show me the data. But I think, there's lots of people in our organization that say that. For me, it's about helping the team deliver fantastic work. Being a team first leader. That's, I think, my guiding principle as a leader. It really is. And of all the things that keep me up at night, I wonder if my team is happy. I wonder what I can do to help them feel more satisfied in the work that they're doing. And I worry that they're, what keeps me up at night is, are we working on the most important things?
Agree with that. Being a data person, I actually don't think the right way to say is show me the data. I think the way is what exactly is the problem you are trying to solve.
Nice.
And working backward, the data will come. We'll find the data to support to solve that problem. I think there's 100%. A better way.
Yeah.
My last question for you. What is one book that you have read and thought it would have been better for your younger self to have?
Oh, yes. Now, this was a challenge. This was a challenge for me thinking about this question. I listened to a lot of books. I've listened to a lot of books over the years. But I think something that I wished I'd known about earlier and read about earlier is Dan Harris's 10% Happier. Dan Harris is a journalist, an American journalist on one of the major networks over in the States, and he's got a very interesting journey around having a bit of an anxiety attack while he was live delivering the news, and that was a profound moment for him in his career, and it led him on this personal quest around seeking out greater happiness. And so he's basically created a separate business and a separate organization called 10% Happier, which is focused around meditation. And so I wished I had known. I've been practicing now for about 4 months, and I wished I had known about it when I was much younger. That would be the thing. If that would be the gift I would give my younger self, the practice of meditation.
I found that I have different way doing the meditation. I am obviously not the person who's gonna sit there for 10 minutes to do the meditation. That is too challenging for me. But I actually find that there are different ways that I can do meditation differently. And one being yoga, and second, cycling. Is about getting into that flow and that rhythm where I am just thinking about doing that one thing, but nothing else, and breathe. That is my way of meditation.
I think that sounds absolutely spot on. I think we all find our own way to disconnect and to recharge, and that sounds like a really wonderful way of doing that, Jason.
Exactly. There are always thousands of ways doing the same thing. Hey, but thank you so much, Kari, for sharing all of these things about what you do at Countdowns. I certainly have learned so many different things, and also helped me to look at a lot of these things in a very, very different perspective. I am certainly sure that listener will find the same. Once again, thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Jason. I've really enjoyed this podcast, and also the preparation and for it as well. It's always a pleasure to connect. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me.
Hello. If you enjoyed this conversation, hit that subscribe button so we can meet again. If you don't, I'll be stuck in an infinite loop. So pull that part by clicking the subscribe and help me out. You can further support us by leaving us a kind review from wherever you are listening. At the end of the year, I will choose a reviewer to send a special gift to, and it might just be you. Look forward to seeing you here next week for a new adventure. If I can find my way out of this endless loop. See ya!